Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about why Generation X is the forgotten generation. We hear that a lot if you look around at Generation X stuff and Generation X nostalgia. You'll see that a lot. Generation X, the forgotten generation. And I believe that there are several reasons for this. And I'll go into those in some detail as I explain my theories on the matter. Number one is just our parents' generation. They didn't care. They just didn't care about us. And I saw it as a child. You know, they would allow us to go outside and do whatever without any supervision, play on dangerous, in dangerous situations, playgrounds that were paved, just rock hard pavement or asphalt that was almost hot to the point it was bubbling and it was soft. We got burned, cut, scraped, just all kinds of stuff. And that ran throughout that entire age group, the young adults back then, the parent age, basically the boomers, right? They just did not care. It was the teachers, it was the institutions, the police officers, and nobody cared back then. If we got hurt or our feelings got hurt or any of that shit, they did not give a shit about us. And I don't think I'm being, fantastical here or making shit up. I mean, that's just the way it was. It seemed normal back then. Nowadays, I look around and see the exact opposite. These kids are coddled and, they're told that words are violence and all this shit now. I mean, they're not even allowed to be, to joke around with each other or poke fun at each other. Everything's offensive. Everything hurts. And it was just the complete opposite for us. Nothing was supposed to hurt us. We were supposed to be seen but not heard. Keep our mouths shut. If we did get hurt and we went crying to our parents, most of the time we'd be asked if we wanted something real to cry about, right? Y'all remember that. You want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about. Meaning that an ass whooping was going to hurt worse than that scrape on your knee. So that we all grew up with that. I'll give you a reason to cry about something or just complete and utter neglect. They just didn't care. Not about us. They cared about a lot of stuff, just not the children at the time. And that's just the age we grew up in. I'm not really faulting them. I enjoyed the freedom. I'm not saying that I had a horrible childhood and they were wrong or anything. I'm just saying that's the way it was. Okay? And I believe, in my experience, that's just a fact. They didn't give a shit. And I didn't care that they didn't care. Don't get me wrong. I was out playing and having fun, bleeding and sweating. So it didn't bother me that they didn't care. But that's part of the reason why we're the forgotten generation. Because we were taught to be seen and not heard, right? We were taught to, as children, to not make noise, not to be the squeaky wheel. Because when you do that and then you get something to cry about, now, that's negative reinforcement for complaining or crying or emoting or any of that stuff. We got negative reinforcement for that. Where nowadays it's celebrated. You cry because, somebody called you a blue boy or something. Now you go crying to your mom and she celebrates it. She gives you cookies or ice cream or whatever. Back then we got something to cry about. So there's that. And it wasn't just the parents. It was the entire generation of people. Like I said, doctors, teachers, principal, police. Nobody gave a shit. It wasn't just our parents that didn't give a shit about us. None of them cared. All right, and a lot of that, and along with the caring, was the neglect. Right? We were just made to fend for ourselves. If we wanted something to eat, a lot of times we had to cook it ourselves. And in doing that and being raised that way, we learned self-sufficiency and self-reliance. So if you grow up that way, there's no reason to complain. There's no reason to be the squeaky wheel. You just do it. It's just par for the course. If something's wrong, you fix it. And that's the way a lot of us grew up. If there was a problem, we solved it. We did whatever it took by any means necessary, by the tools available, and we got the shit done. And that has carried with us throughout our entire lives. We're as a generation, we're not the squeaky wheel. And neglect was a real thing. They actually, a lot of y'all remember this. Remember this? They actually had to remind our parents that they had children at 10 o'clock at night. Now, that's going a little too far, I mean, that's ridiculousness. We look at this stuff now and how these kids are treated now, and they're soft and they're coddled and all this, and they are. Don't get me wrong, they are. But back then, I think it was a little overboard. Okay, there was a happy medium in between these two things, in between the just complete and total neglect, and then the participation trophies and the idea that words are violence and all this shit. In between those two, there's a happy medium there, where the kids could have some rubber shavings on their playground so they wouldn't get concussions and shit. Make sure that the jungle gym didn't have any protruding razor sharp metal hanging off of it and stuff like that. The adults could have done that back then, and it would have gone a long way toward just creating a safe environment and a real but still allowed us some freedom. Now these kids are on lockdown, and it doesn't matter if the playgrounds are asphalt and shit, because there aren't no kids out there. There aren't any kids out there playing. They're in their rooms. Yeah. So that as well, the neglect. And then on into our adulthood, we see the economy. They start just the job market. They sent all the good jobs away. Not all of the good jobs, but they sent many of the good jobs away. The manufacturing jobs, the jobs that you could get right out of high school and make a living and support a family with, got sent to China and Taiwan or wherever, right? And not only that, but we saw all of these companies just strip away the pensions and this stuff that they used to give to our parents and our grandparents who worked with the company for 20 years. They would get a good pension, and now and then we see these companies making record profits, and they're becoming these billion-dollar companies and buying up other companies and all this shit. So that kind of jaded us. Right. I mean, and a lot of us just decided if the game is rigged against us, as an entire generation, they're rigging the game against us. Right. We didn't have it like the boomers, where we were in our working age during the most prosperous time in world history. We were in our working age when they started just selling us out, selling our country and probably all of Western civilization out, and having stuff manufactured overseas. So that really jaded us as far as all the layoffs. You've been working with a company for 10 years or something, and all of a sudden you're just laid off, go home, learn to code. A lot of us were told, learn to code. And that kind of shit. And when you get hit in the face with that kind of shit, it really tends to jade you. You become jaded, and you don't want any part of that system anymore, because it's rigged. It's rigged against you. It's set up for failure. It's not set up for success and prosperity. It's set up to produce failure. And we see that kind of stuff happen throughout our lives. And even if it didn't happen to us specifically and individually, we saw it happen to other people our age across the board, you know. Saw these people lose their jobs and lose their homes, lose a lot of people that did manage to make enough money to buy a home by 2009 when that housing bubble happened. A lot of people lost their homes. And a lot of people are renting right now because they lost their homes in the 2009 crash. That adds to the propensity to distance yourself from the entire system, the entire thing, right? A lot of people just don't want anything to do with it anymore. And some of us are forced to, right? We're just forced to. We don't have any option. We're stuck in it. We're chained to the system in a lot of ways. But some of us have managed to escape. But my point is that even those of us who are stuck in it, we want to escape. That's, we would like to escape, get away from all this shit. So instead of using our voice and speaking up and trying to make the world a better place, a lot of us see that as pointless. It's rigged. You're fighting, you're spitting into the wind, right? There's no way. It's not going to happen. So that is a reason why we're the forgotten generation, because a lot of us have gone that route. Just refuse to comply, refuse to take part in a broken, rigged system. And you can't fault those who got out. You know what I mean? I can't fault them. You know, a lot of ways it seems like we're slaves in today's society, just meat robots going out to serve the global corporations. And for someone to escape that fate, I applaud them. And then you get to what we're faced with today is the censorship. So even if we do decide to speak up, even if we do decide to make ourselves heard, now we're censored. We're silenced by algorithms and AI and all this other shit, right? And we've all experienced it. We've all had our comments deleted in YouTube comments. We've all had comments deleted. We've all seen the censorship. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not something we're making up in our heads. It's real and it's happening right here on this channel. So that's another reason why we're the forgotten generation. And I believe that in that, since we were children, playing out in the street or in the woods or wherever you grew up and wherever you played with, your friends were really the only thing you had, the only people that you had that you could count on or converse with. And I think that Generation X has kept that throughout our lives. We feel comfortable talking to each other, not necessarily to the world at large. Okay, not necessarily going up there and holding a picket sign or holding signs, political signs, and protesting at Tesla dealerships and shit like that. You know what I mean? That's not us as a rule. Some Gen Xers are out there doing that shit. I'm not an idiot, not a complete idiot anyway. But as a rule, though, I think that we're just more comfortable with other Gen Xers, other like-minded people, and we can express ourselves to each other. To the rest of the world can just go screw themselves. They're on they're in a hay wagon to hell, and we're gonna watch them go. So that's kind of where we're at there. I think a lot of us anyway. A lot of us. And I think those are the reasons really why we're the silent generation. It's been our choice to become the silent generation. Maybe not a a conscious choice, you know, but it's not like we were silenced by other people this whole time. We chose to remain silent. We chose this way, and it's just a way of life that fit our mental state, our psyche, and I really don't see anything wrong with it. But let me know what you think. I'm really interested to know what you think about Generation X. Do you think I hit the nail on the head? Am I pretty close to the target there about why we're called the forgotten generation? Why we've been silent this whole time? Or am I completely off the mark? Do you have better reasons why we would be known as the forgotten generation? I'm interested to know those. So please leave those down in the comments, all right? And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll leave that link down in the description too for those of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a hell of a lot. So thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.